Hello and welcome back to Star Citizen. My name is Evenlease, and today on 10 minutes more or less ship review, right behind me, the RSI Constellation Taurus. Let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, welcome back to another review, and thank you to WinRAR42, Archangel 8, and of course What124 for helping out with today's review of the Robert Space Industries Constellation Taurus. Now this ship is getting some changes with 4.2.1, and it's getting a really big hit to its maneuverability, making it a pretty hard ship to fly, which honestly, it's kind of a thankful thing to happen here because this ship was competing with some heavy fighters out there, and it was almost like, I don't think that should be what this ship's doing. But let's go ahead and talk about that. This ship here is $200 if you're to buy it on the pledge store, or if you buy it in game, it's 8,043,840 aUEC, and you can buy that in the city of Loreville. Now, if you were to get destroyed, it is a 17-minute and 6-second claim time, or if you're to expedite it, it is 5 minutes and 42 seconds to expedite it, which ain't terrible at all, especially with what this ship can do for you. Let's talk about that really quick. You can do cargo, you can transport vehicles, and you can transport vehicles up to like a NERSA. It's a pretty big carrier of, ground vehicles. You can't bring a Storm or a Nova in here, but you can definitely transport the vehicles that you need to. Too bad you can't move a ballista or something like that, right? But it can do cargo, vehicle transport, package delivery, bounty hunting. It can do a number of things, but now it's just going to be a little bit more difficult to do certain things. This ship here with the pilot, the damage per second is 4,908 burst damage per second, which still is not terrible at all because you have 4 size 5 CF 557 Galdarines for the pilot. And I gotta say, that is going to output a ton of firepower for the pilot, which is just fantastic. And then they also have 24 size 2 Strike Force 2 missiles, which, I mean, on top of that firepower, you have 24 missiles. It's too bad you can only launch 4 at a time, especially since you have so many pods that pop up. I wish you can launch as many that are, shown on the top of the ship there. But I mean, you got 24 of them, and you can launch a couple volleys before you run out, which is pretty nice. And then on the top of the ship, you do have a manned turret, which outputs 1,092 burst damage per second due to the 2 size 3 CF 337 Panthers on the top there, which is pretty great. And then with the Taurus here, the bottom turret is replaced with no guns. Now you have a tractor beam. So this is the cargo or freight variant of the Constellation ship. So that bottom turret, it doesn't have guns. It's a tractor beam, and it gives you a pretty good angle to go ahead and lift that cargo up without ever even having to leave your ship, technically, if you go somewhere that the cargo's already on the ground waiting for your pickup. And that's pretty nice because you and your co-pilot can just sit there and pick up cargo all day long without ever having to leave the safety of your ship or even having to touch your landing gear to the ground, as you can see here, which is pretty cool. I do love that. And the cargo space on that ramp is actually pretty nice. I gotta say, that elevator, I'm not a fan of elevators, but that one's got a pretty good amount of space, so I appreciate that. Now, this ship does have 1 size 3 industrial grade C shield generator, giving you 63,400 quadrant shield, which is always great, because if you're getting attacked, all you gotta do is just put the, shield on the side that you're getting hit the most to hopefully protect you for as long as possible, because your ship has 130,040 ship HP, which is actually really great. But you got to remember, this ship has a lot of engine nacelles, a lot of little parts, a lot of little wing areas, and that can be kind of detrimental to its health pool because a lot of your HP is spread apart. So it could take a little bit of a beating, but then you got to really think about getting out of there once you're starting to lose too much of your shield, too much of your health pool. And with this thing now, its maneuverability being, you know, pretty stripped there, pretty nerfed, as you would say, or balance passed, which again, I think it needed it. The ship was a little too agile before with the firepower that it does have. I mean, it's just still, it's got some good firepower. You can still rely on that firepower as long as the target's in front of you. So your ship HP and your quadrant shield looking pretty good. Now you do have a top SCM speed of 180 with a 380 forward boost, a 191 backwards boost, and a 950 nav speed. Again, it's not a ship out there to win any races. It's not going from A to B, you know, in any sort of speed record here, but it is going to do the job on transporting your cargo from one side of the verse to the other with a pretty decent amount of speed, especially compared to some other ships out there that carry freight. Now let's talk about that maneuverability. Sitting at a 25, 21, 45 pitch yaw roll. And then if you boost, it's 30, 25, 54. Not even its boosted stats are as good as its base stats used to be, which is quite surprising. So now your maneuverability is going to be, it feels very heavy. You're going to see my fighting footage here in just a second. It feels very heavy. It feels really hard to move, which a ship like this, I mean, it has a lot of rear thrust power, but I don't see where you would see a lot of the maneuverability from it. So it makes sense that you're not maneuvering too much. Now you do have 48 flares and 5 decoys, so on par with other ships. But for a freight ship, I wish it had more, just to protect its cargo. And then you have 66 SCU of hydrogen fuel and 4.1 SCU of quantum fuel, which is just fantastic. Gotta love the amount of fuel that you do have on this boat. Now, overall, this ship, let's go ahead and take a look at the outside here. I mean, it's a decent looking ship. I think it needs a really big pass on it to really give, an update to its exterior, its paint, its overall texture and feel to the ship. But it's not terrible. It is definitely not terrible, but it's definitely a lot further behind than what you would see on a lot of your newer RSI ships, like the Polaris, the Perseus, the Galaxy. All these ships have a much different design architect than the exterior of this, which some people might actually love the change between this and the Dorito, right? So you have 2 access points on the ground. You have your main elevator here, and then you have your cargo bay here, which you can access from the back here. You hit that button, it drops down. And then the main elevator, which we'll go up to first, just so we can check out the cockpit here. This is where you're gonna enter the ship primarily. And then, of course, your tractor beam comes out right there, as seen on the video earlier. So let's go ahead and hop on the inside here really quick, take a quick look at this thing, and what a beautiful scenery. It's looking really beautiful out. So I just love the area we're at. First thing you're going to see right ahead is your cockpit. Right now, no components or gold standard pass. You do have some relays, and of course you got your ankle height fire extinguishers, which is going to be a really big bummer when you go to grab that fire extinguisher and you bash your head right into a railing because they're so low. But they are there. And of course, the thing I make fun of the most is the random wire going across the floor here, which is fantastic. Your bottom turret, your top turret. Upper turret is the one with the guns, bottom one's with the cargo, which is just, I love the angle. It's very awesome. A lot of people love that. Has a great functionality to it. And then, of course, you got your co-pilot seat to the left and to the right, and your main pilot seat direct center, which is pretty nice. The co-pilots are able to help you out a bit. And of course, this cockpit over time has had minor changes, like to its MFD layout and everything. And you'll see that here in my combat footage in a second. It looks pretty decent. It's not all in your way, and it looks just great. But the biggest thing in your way is that strut view right there. Oh, it's like looking through the cockpit of a TIE fighter or something. I don't know. I just, this thing is just ridiculous when it comes to the struts, especially the two directly in your face. I think a lot of these will disappear once this ship gets its true pass, which hopefully is sooner rather than later. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the next room here. This is your living area for the crew. This is where you're gonna have your storage lockers, your bathroom, your sitting area for anybody to have some food. First, we'll start with the bathroom here, and okay, we'll go ahead and close that. There was somebody in the bathroom, so that wasn't a good timing on that one. And then if you were to go ahead and open up your storage, of course, you can go ahead and store any items you have here, which is nice. You got 1, 2, 3, 5 of those, and then you only have 2 spots for your guns, which is honestly kind of surprising, but grab a gun and you can go ahead and place it here. Boom, now you got a spot and run right there. So only 2 weapons you're bringing with you for a crew of 3 to 5, right? So kind of too bad. And then, of course, like I said, you have a nice bench area with a nice table to go ahead and sit down and eat, and some storage area to the right there, as well as 4 beds, which still have graphical bugs underneath the beds. As you can see, the floor is kind of gone, and that is a graphical bug, not a feature. You might want to be careful laying in this bed. You might never come back out. But yep, you do got your 4 beds there, and then the next door leads to your cargo room, which is where you're going to have even more component access areas in the future. And there's your main cargo grid right there. You're going to be able to put any sort of vehicles right there, cargo, and you can carry 174 SCU of cargo, which is pretty good. It's a pretty decent amount of cargo for a ship like this, especially with the firepower that you do have. Now on each side of the ship, you have this massive, missile rack here, which is just abundantly a hazard, really. It's absolutely a hazard, but it's here and it's visible, looks really cool, looks neat. And then you have 2 airlocks. So 2 more entrances to the ship, but they are very dangerous. Be careful not to be on the outside when they open, because they do open at the speed of sound. Now you can go ahead and get into your ship in EVA. Wow, could you imagine being close to that when that thing closes? That is insane. Now you will have your future components here along the walls and in the back here, but as of right now, again, no components pass. And then the most reasonably placed fire extinguisher, kind of at chest height, good to grab, easy. And then you walk through this next door and you have more component areas, including a relay area and another ankle height fire extinguisher, just too bad. And then walking into the next room is where you're going to have what's considered another cargo room. This one is supposed to be maybe a concealed cargo room where you can take your more suspicious cargo, put it back here, and it will be shielded, allowing you to carry some not so friendly things, which, someday, right? Now that is it for the RSI Constellation Taurus. It is a pretty fantastic ship. So let's go ahead and take a look at the combat footage really quick, and then I'll give you my score. All right, as you can see, this ship still retains this massive amount of firepower, and it does really good at the cargo game, but I mean, it's not as much cargo as you can carry with some other ships around this price point, so that's why you get a little bit of a drop-off in points there. But I mean, overall, it's still a fantastic multi-use ship, from damaging opponents, going bounty hunting, doing cargo, doing some sort of delivery. I mean, it's just a fantastic overall day-to-day runner, and I think it's a fantastic pick if you're out there looking for a multi-tool of ships. The Constellation Taurus is an 81 out of 100 for me. I really do think that its design is a bit old school. I like the Dorito a little bit more with RSI's newer ships, but this ship is still great in its multi-use realm. I can't wait to see the Galaxy, honestly. That's going to be an interesting ship. Let me know what you think of the Taurus, especially now with the balance pass that is coming with 4.2.1, making this ship a lot less agile. Honestly, in my opinion, I like that, but it still does hit a little bit hard on the score there. So let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I just love making these, and my son just gets to get a good kick out of them. So thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being members on YouTube and Patreon. You all are truly amazing, and I will see you all in the next one.